guys, this is Jennifer with the Shooter's Mindset, and we are live with episode 429. We are here with our co-hosts. They held it down last week while I was not gone, and I'm not going to ask how their hey guys was because they give me a hard time about saying that at the beginning of every show. And when I have to miss, they always ask me, or they always talk about who said the hey guys and how it was. So we won't go through judging that, but how's it going, Corey?
Pretty good. I'm not training for Mammoth, but I'm in costume.
I was about to say, I love for those of you on the podcast that can't see, he is wearing a rucksack right now. How much weight you got in it?
Absolutely nothing.
Amateur,
Absolutely. I have reindeer in this, and that's it.
amateur, you need 60 pounds in it. At least 60 pounds. All right, Greg, how's it going?
I'm just happy I didn't have to hey guys this episode. So fantastic.
We all are.
As much as y'all give me a hard time, you miss when I'm not here. See? All right. And our guests of the hour, the people that everyone really wants to hear from, are our winners of the 2024 Mammoth Sniper Challenge. We've got Luke Keller and Zach Reed. How's it going, guys?
Hey, pretty good. Thanks.
Yeah, going well here as well.
All right. Well, first, we want to congratulate you for being the winners. That is definitely a feat. I've done it before, so I understand what all goes into it. Planning, prep. I'm sure talking on the phone and, figuring out who's carrying what and how you're going to talk on the clock and all those fun things. So I know it's a much bigger challenge. There's a lot of aspects to it. So congratulations, first off. But for anybody that doesn't know you, if you could start off by telling us a little bit about yourselves and how you got into shooting and how y'all became partners.
You want to go, Luke?
Sure. Luke Keller, I live in North Carolina. I'm 38, father of 4. And I got started into shooting when I was in high school. I was on a junior high power rifle team. So we would go up to Camp Perry every year during the summer to shoot national matches. And so that's kind of like my introduction to everything at that point in time. And so since then, in one way or another, either be a 3-gun or more long range shooting, which I've gotten into a lot more lately. I've kind of matches or competition in general with shooting has kind of been a part of my life since then. And then this will be the 3rd Mammoth that I shot. So 3 years ago is when I met Zach. We're actually squatted in the same squad. He was shooting with somebody else. And just started talking, kind of hit it off, and kept on talking over the phone. His partner was not able to shoot the following Mammoth, and I was also struggling to find somebody, I think, at that time. So this is the last year. We decided, like, hey, why not? Let's do this together. And I'm in North Carolina. He's out in Utah. So we had never shot together in a match or anything competition-wise before. So we trained for all of one day and then went down to last year's Mammoth. Since then, we have kept in contact over the phone, and this time we trained all of 2 days, I believe. We told ourselves we need a little bit more time, and then shot together again this year at the Mammoth. So we actually don't really, definitely don't hang out on the weekends. Don't shoot a lot of competitions together. Only shot 2, so it's really good and refreshing to find somebody that you can communicate easily with, and you have like a similar mindset, because I think that makes a lot of the lack of training and just competitions in general, like together or shooting together in general, like it makes up for a lot of that, just being like compatible in that way.
Definitely. Zach, how about you?
So I started shooting 22s when I was a kid. My dad taught me how to shoot in western Wyoming. We were just plinking at rocks with open sights without any safety glasses, so no idea what we were doing. But that led into just loving firearms growing up, and didn't really do much other than try to kill as many prairie dogs and ground squirrels as we could with our free time in the summers. And then in college, I started shooting competitively in like NRL, PRS, and USPSA. I had some influence in my life from some friends that were like, here's a shot timer. This is what it's like to shoot a target with scoring rings. And that led into working for Applied Ballistics after college. Worked there as an engineer and was sponsored as a shooter. So I shot all throughout the week and then on the weekends and then traveled to go shoot. And did that for an amount of time for about 4 years. And then started shooting with Luke. Well, met him with I was shooting with a partner from Applied Ballistics. We met at the 2020 Mammoth, but I started shooting Mammoth in 2019 with another buddy from AB. And then, shot together in 2023, took third, and just kind of said to ourselves, like, man, there's a couple of things that we could like tie up, some loose ends, like the deficiencies we had noted and areas to make to gain ground. And then this next time out with an additional day of training, kind of did that, and it looks like it paid off. But I live out in Utah. I work in the defense industry and aerospace as an engineer, and my free time, I hang out with my wife and just love life out west. So it's good.
Well, speaking of like eye protection and shooting without any, Greg, I think you had a little announcement to make. Come off of mute though.
I'm trying to be cool like Corey before the show. He was on 5 minutes before he unmuted himself. Anyway, our good friend Brian Conley of Hunters HD Gold. You can see the banner back there a little bit. Both me and Jen are both we both wear prescriptions. Corey also uses these eyewear, and he makes what's, in my opinion, the best eyewear you'll ever wear while you're shooting. It's kind of like a HDR lens that goes over your eyes. It increases contrast. It helps you find those hidden targets you might encounter at Mammoth. And he said, congratulations to you guys on your win. And if you're interested, he has a set of custom to your prescription Hunters HD Gold glasses for each of you.
Really?
Nice.
And
Dang.
he left his email. I'll shoot it over to you guys and just
Cool.
shoot an email. And then you can be as cool as the three of us with our Hunters HD Gold.
Well, that's
Nice.
also generous. Yeah, you didn't have to do that whatsoever. It's really appreciate that. These
Thanks.
glasses are actually several years old, and I wore them off and on 2 years ago, but I wore contacts mostly, and they're in my rucksack during most of Mammoth as backup. So they are in dire need of replacement. So not only is it much appreciated, but it's also much needed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you guys will absolutely love them. I mean, the amount of stuff that that I could see bare-eyed that people struggle with wearing these glasses, they are quite nice for hidden target identification and whatnot.
Are they kind of like the slightly rose tinted like Oakley lenses, or
So
like
He's got 3 different ones, so you can get a straight clear. That comes. His company is direct to consumer from Optical Prescription Lab, so they run really high end glass, and they run like just your normal glass, but all the brands are the high end stuff. So he's got a clear. It's a transition lens. Then he's got a gold, which is medical grade dye. So it's like your classic gold or yellow shooting glass, but with high contrast. He's got a red for shotgun. He calls it ruby. It's a really dark red though. So not unless you're like Utah in the summertime. If you have any like shade or rain or anything, it's not my favorite. But if you're out in the desert, they're bomb. And then he has a blue, which is for like fishing and stuff. It's like an 80% polarized, so you can still read your phone and everything. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that he does, basically everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
He can even do bifocals, but we won't talk about how I know that. So you can have shooting glasses that are bifocals.
Nice. Nice.
So y'all talked a little bit about the team dynamics, but if you had to say one thing, what do you think is the key to shooting as a team?
I'd say concise communication. And by concise, I don't mean well, I do mean using short words, right? Not being overly prescriptive, because that takes time. But concise in the fact that you should know what your partner needs in the moment that they are in. So it could be that the only thing that they need is the range, and that's it. They don't need a description. They don't need they don't need wind. They don't need, their elevation, because all that is kind of like material that is already populating in their heads and they're figuring that out. But all they really need is the range so they can quickly look at their dope card, or they can quickly confirm what they're about to do, like in their head. And so that doesn't only go in like giving it if it's not asked, but also in asking for it as well. It's like, hey, I need the range to this. I need the range to this target, or I need the range to the pig or the cross or the diamond or the oval. And when I would say if Zach needed that, or if I needed that, when we had talked about it before, when I'm asking for help, it means that I have judged that it's worth me deciding for him to abandon the points that he's trying to earn by himself. And I'm now consuming his time to help us as a team by helping me get the points that are available like right in front of me. So it could be that if he's hammering away and I'm not, I don't really want to interrupt him. So it's like, okay, well, we're going to get max points by me not taking him off what he's currently doing. I'm going to try to do something else, or I need to remember, hey, you give me this information, but I'll wait until he's done. So kind of evaluating that, I believe, is of importance. There's a lot of moving targets this time around. And I believe the only thing that we talked to each other was color of what we were engaging. Hey, I see this one. Then it'd be, this is the range or the location that it's at. It's to the left of the road. And then as soon as we would get a hit at a certain mile per hour value of like what the target was traveling at, say it's like 1.8 mils or 1.5, that was like the only other thing that was communicated. Hey, I just got a hit at 1.5. And then for all of our pre-discussions, we had like a dope card specifically for, moving targets built out. So it's like, okay, well, if he got that at 1.5 mils, now that what that means for me, that I'm, just thinking about through my own head, is that I should be holding this because I'm shooting at this different range, but they're traveling around at the same speed. So working separate from each other when
But
needed,
together.
working together also at the same time, which is something I think is key, and something that Sean Murphy and Greg Hamilton would say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The ability to communicate efficiently and not overload your partner, because like I'm keeping numbers in my head like 7.9 mils on this target, and if someone starts spruiking off with other information, that could be confusing and distracting, and so just being very brief. I think the other thing, and Luke kind of touched on this, especially in a team match, there's opportunities to work together, like a shooter spotter kind of scenario, and we would make that judgment call before a stage, like, this feels like it's a small target, we should work in that way, versus like, hey, we can go shooter on this stage and then just work together as we need to, but more or less operate independently, provided we're like within the constraints of how the stage is written. You got to shoot alternatively, or you just have to announce what you're shooting, and they don't care what order you go in. So being able to communicate efficiently is a big deal. And I think too, something that's just not often practiced as a team is like verbally putting someone on a target, and being able to do that efficiently, versus just like fumbling with, I think it's like, a little bit left of that big tree. It's like, thanks, guy, there's 1,000 trees, give me something else. And honestly, some of our pre-stage, like those 2 days of practice were like, okay, I'm going to zip my lips for this one. You have to tell me where to point everything. So someone is like driving the shooter, identifying targets, and as the spotter, and more or less kind of just at the mercy of wherever he thinks he should go is where he goes. And your skill in describing the environment to him is like the key piece of it, like the crux of his success. So yeah.
So how different is it training for a solo match like PRS NRL versus a team match? And then another caveat to that question is, how did y'all do it when y'all were so far apart and only had that one day? Did y'all talk on the phone and strategize? Did you, have a ongoing text thread forever on all the things you wanted to do and how, code words, what you wanted to say, or how did y'all manage to do that practice?
We communicated over Signal, just texting back and forth throughout the year. And as I'd be driving to work one day, I'd have a thought and I'd just key it up and just record a voice message and fire it off. And we'd go back and forth on
By
that.
the way, made fun of. She's like, "Oh, you got another voice message from Zach."
Remember that now, you're telling me.
Like,
Wow,
oh, no. This one's like 3.5 minutes long. I need to listen to this.
Oh, you've never sent me one of those. Uh, Solo matches are like, you can just get in your zone and do your thing, and you don't have to verbalize anything generally. You just kind of operate. And I think a lot of new shooters in a team match, they can be in that same mindset, and they've got key information that they are actively processing, but not putting out for their partner to be helpful. So like there's a level of over communication and you're just saying too much. And there's a level of just not doing it at all. But practicing, we just kind of, I don't know, Luke, went out to Coleman's and spent one day the first time and 2 days the next, just kind of, I don't know, making up stages for each other, saying like, all right, give me 5 seconds. I'm going to pick out some targets. All right, here's the stage. And you have to shoot off of that rock at this target and go, or whatever. We just kind of challenge each other in that way, and then try to do that together simultaneously to kind of replicate some of the common themes that you see at Mammoth.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Zach. We definitely communicated back and forth. After getting third place last year, we took a hard look at it. And like, if it's possible with scheduling, we're definitely going back. And so we were, I think, primarily looking at dates that Chris Andrews was putting out, as far as registration goes. I don't know how quickly Mammoth sold out this year, but I thought it was like really quick. I was like getting refreshed on the phone kind of thing. So once we got in though, then the conversations, started to get into more of like, okay, hey, you got to travel from Utah. Like, how are we going to do this? Because we wanted to take it more seriously. Last year, when we had no idea that we were doing well, and honestly, this year I'd say the same, except for like a stage or two. It's like you look at it, and they tell you like how many points are available. It's like, oh, there's 70 points available, and when you score 14, like, and you sign the sheet of paper, you're like, oh, so many points like left standing, and but they're like, oh, that's a high score, and it's like, what?
What? Yeah,
like we did so horribly. Like,
Huh.
if we had like another minute, or if we just like changed one decision, it could have gone a lot better. So anyway, so last year, like, we didn't know that we were, in the top 10. I think we were number 7 or 8 at some point in time, like the day before the last day. They put it out on social media. Neither of us were looking at our phone. We didn't think we were doing well enough to do, be in the top 10 anyway. And the point difference between us and, I think third place was 3 or 4 points. There's a stage, so it was like, oh, hey, we could like turn it on, and we actually were able to do really well in the last 2 stages on that last day, and we're able to take third. So there's like a degree of like, okay, hey, we can do this. We could, if we take it seriously enough this year around. And then how we do that over distance. I think we talked about trying to shoot matches together. I tried to get him to come out to shoot North Carolina. It just didn't work. With his work schedule. He got married this year, engaged and married, right? All in the same year. So
it's a busy year. I'm amazed that
that's a very busy year for him. I have 4 children running around. That's a Barbie dream house blurred out from our girls this Christmas and everything. So we really didn't have a lot of time to prepare and everything. But we took it seriously, and I think the time that we did spend talking back and forth was very focused. And also the time we spent out at Coleman's for the 2 days was also very focused. My wife was blessed us very much by allowing us to do that. So he came out on Monday, and she didn't see me until I came back from Mammoth, more or less, that Sunday, because I'd leave with Zach about 8 o'clock in the morning and get back at dinner time. And so it's like, all right, I'm gonna leave on Wednesday to, or Thursday to go do this thing now that we prepared for. So yeah, that's I think just like the seriousness we brought to the table in our communication and with the distance.
And we both have a pretty decent background in competitive shooting, and so I think because of that track record, both of us could go in and be like, okay, what are the little couple of things I need to tweak to be successful at Mammoth? And so it wasn't like we were just learning how to do this. I mean, I had shot 2 Mammoths before starting with Luke, and then Luke, I think he shot 1. But we both shot other team matches together. I shot Butch Schnell Sniper Comp once, and so kind of knew what to expect, and then kind of what to really focus on, given the limited time we had to train together.
Sounds like a successful marriage. Lots of communication and planning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Second marriage in y'all's cases now.
Yeah.
So since you didn't get to train together as much, what did you do individually? Training for Mammoth is obviously the big hashtag. So what was kind of your physical breakdown versus your shooting breakdown of how you trained for the match?
So it kind of goes back to Mammoth 2019. The first one I shot with a partner from Applied Ballistics. We failed the 3rd ruck march of the first day. Like most teams,
I feel your pain.
Yeah, we overpacked and underprepared, just didn't really know what to expect. And so I had a buddy at work that started getting me into, dare I say, CrossFit. And I lost like 25 pounds, never been fitter. And then we came back the next year and just crushed the rucks. And what was surprising is that physically, by just having just a solid base level of fitness, I mean, honestly, in preparation for this Mammoth, I started in October and would do 2 to 5 miles a week. And when I'd go shorter distances, I'd go heavier weight. And when I went longer distances, I'd go faster with lighter weight. I didn't want to injure myself, and just kind of needed to fill out a little bit of fitness, because I already had I think a decent base as a result of now doing that, doing CrossFit for like, I don't know, 4 years now. So mostly physical for mine. I only shot a handful of matches this last year. I shot all Army with the Army, and then I shot like 2 USPSA matches and like a 3-gun, and then I think an NRL 22 match, but that was about it. So yeah, most of my preparation was on the technical side, figuring out a new powder, a new bullet, kind of working up a load for that for my rifle. So I kind of spent most of my time on the, doing temp sensitivity testing, making sure my pistol was dialed in, all that kind of stuff. So
what'd you end up going with for powder and cartridge?
So I shoot a 25 Creedmoor. So there's a little bit of background. I worked for Applied Ballistics for a number of years, and so I had a lot of analytical tools available to me, and that was one of like the last build I made before leaving the company and moving back west. And I am of the opinion that based on the BC of bullets available for like 6 mil, 6.5, the creme de la creme is right there in the middle at 25. You have a BC that's like a G7 of I think 3.3 something, like 3.35 or
3.34, yeah,
which is getting really close to like the BC of the 215 hybrid out of a 300 Norma Mag. So like, you get this beautiful case capacity to just drive that super high BC bullet really fast. And I think it's just, you got a higher hit probability than a 6, higher than a 6.5 by a couple digits, but less recoil than a 6.5 and a little bit more than a 6. And brass is everywhere because you just take somebody else's and pick it up or size it down. And it's easy to load for. But I shoot a Berger 135 LRHT and with Vinavore N 150. So I mean, of all the things I walked away with from Applied Ballistics with, like, knowledge in what matters and reloading is probably like the biggest chunk of knowledge that I'm thankful for coming away from there. So yeah, like able to consistently load with like single digit SDs over long strings of fire and be able to take that ammo cross country and not have it do weird things after flying an airplane after, 30,000 feet.
Right.
Yeah, so Venovore N150, the 135s, Lapua brass, and CCI primers, so
Okay.
not too complicated, but there's a couple little nuanced things that I could get on rabbit trails about, but and neither here nor there.
All right. So I'm kind of the fat kid of the crew, and I always love talking about food. As an RO at Mammoth, we had a taco bar for Moe's. We had some fried pork chops and chicken tenders, some good nanner pudding. Yeah, Chris took really good care of us. What did you guys eat while shooting Mammoth?
Luke?
Well, so between the two of us, Zach is the hungry child. He is
Definitely
every night he is, figuring out how much more he could eat of the next day's allotment of food in order to not be completely dissatisfied the following day. So realizing that this year on our drive down, we stopped by Subway and we got a 12-inch Subway just to bring along on our ruck on the very first day. Like, yeah, first day won't even matter, for the extra weight because we'll be so fresh. And at least we'll have like a 6-inch sub for lunch and for dinner as well, along with Mountain House meals. And so I did the Sniper Adventure Challenge, I think 2 years ago, and I've done a whole bunch of other stuff where I contemplated like bringing less weight by not bringing a jet boil. It was extremely cold and miserable, and I'm extremely glad that we did bring a jet boil in order to
Absolutely.
the Mountain House meals in. The option of just putting the water in there and letting it sit for a while, maybe against your body, was something that I was contemplating. And Zach, I think, looked at me like that was the dumbest idea that he had
absolutely not
ever. He had, I think, 2 jet boils in his hand at that point in time. Was like, we could bring both.
More food faster.
Yeah, so Mountain House meals, the Subway, foot long for each of us, and then a whole bunch of little snacks. So like little bars or typical like energy gels kind of thing. Choose your own adventure with that. I think both of us were well, at least I know I grabbed the remainder of what I had from like a previous bulk buy of Mountain House meals. And so I just kind of like, oh, this is what I have, I'm bringing it. And I saw other competitors there with 900 plus calorie, choose some other version of meal as I'm eating my 480 calorie chicken pot thai or whatever. I was like, okay, I could probably have done a little bit better thinking on this part in the moment, right? But like before, I was like, oh, I'm totally fine. But of course, in the moment, you have that kind of your stomach starts growling.
Listen, you did better than some people I've seen at these matches before. We were at, I forgot which Vortex Team Sniper Challenge it was that we were at, and we were there doing media, and it's the night before the match, and I'm in a Walmart trying to, grab a couple of snacks that I could throw in the back of the car to eat throughout the day. And there are shooters there coming up with their food for the match, like in the smallest, it was a Walmart from like 20 years ago. Like it was so weird. I felt like I was walking back in time. They didn't even have indoor plumbing in this thing. And these guys are in there, and it's like an aisle and a half of food in this Walmart, and it's the only thing open. They're like, well, I guess this is what we're eating this weekend. I was like, oof.
Wow.
Let me tell you, I took too much food to Mammoth. Like I am not one that eats very much when I shoot anyway. I just like, I can't, I don't know. I don't get hungry, but of course we were rucking, so we had to have more energy. So we ate, but we had some left over because we had really, like Sean and Greg had ingrained in us, like, make sure you have enough nutrition. And so we had some left over, and I don't know, maybe, they don't go bad. So like maybe a year later, I had them, and I don't know, I hadn't gone to the grocery store, and I was like, I'll just eat one of those. I mean, whatever. I
Mm.
made it. I was like, "Huh, how did I eat this before?" Like, it was fine when I was with Mammoth. It didn't bother me.
Hmm.
They were not all that good.
No, hunger is the best sauce, Jen.
Yeah, I was like, I guess I was hungrier than I thought.
Hunger is the best sauce. That needs to be a
That's
t-shirt.
right.
Unlike you, we did not leave with anything.
Yeah,
Completely
we ate
consumed.
everything. I think Luke and I are both similar to you, Jen, in that like when we're shooting, I forget to eat. I'm like, we are so task focused, just with how our brains are wired, that like some basic things that everyone would be like, oh yeah, of course, eat when you're hungry. You should drink some water. That'd be smart. Like just forget to do because you're on mission. And so this year, thankfully, there's enough downtime between stages, especially on that second day with the fog, that I was like, man, maybe I should heat up a lemon drip drop in my jet boil. That could be really good. And it freaking was. Like, I never thought a salty, like, electrolyte mix would taste good like that, but very
Mm.
refreshing, especially when you're shivering cold and you now got a liter of warm drip drop in you.
It makes a difference. You were talking about debating the jet boil or not. It made a
Oh, yeah.
difference because it was cold. Mammoth that I did was 2 years ago, and it was cold too, which I think 50 degrees is cold, but it was much colder than that. But to have hot food to go down
Mhm.
to your belly, it makes
Mhm.
a difference when it's cold.
Mhm.
So, what was I want to hear from each of you because it might be different. What was your favorite stage and your least favorite stage?
Hmm.
We should have thought about this beforehand.
Yeah. I'll just fire one off if you want to think, Luke.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I really there's two marathon mover stages, and I think with respect to like liking it for what it was and our ability to succeed on, I think the second marathon mover stage, we went into that with a really good plan. We sat down and just executed, and it was just everything came together, and it was just like we were singing from the same sheet of music, and we executed really well on that, and we did really well on that stage. Um, I think my least favorite stage was it was the first stage we shot of the entire match, and it's on some kind of, I don't know, alternate pistol range, but it was of the north stages, the eastmost, and it had like some targets identified by color of the post, and then the shape of the target, coyote, ipstick, and so on. And I'm red green colorblind, so I think we spent like 20 or 30 seconds, at least I did. There was an ipsic torso in some very young pine trees off to the right. And I sat there and was like, is that a red? Or is that green? Or is that red? Or is that green? Because I don't know, it just was stupid, right? Because obviously I could just be like, no, count all the other targets. Oh, obviously that's the one that's missing. So screw it. I shoot all the other ones instead. And looking back, I was like, that was really dumb. And we could have completed more shots if I didn't spend time making like dumb Zach kind of things on that target. Um, so I think that was my least favorite of that one. But yeah, maybe Luke's had more time to think now. Anybody?
Yeah, so I would agree. Not for the same reason, but I would say that Chris Andrews usually has a flavor of stages. And so we have a lot of mental rehearsals beforehand. We talk about it a lot. We have, our general stage plan based off of the brief and all the dilemmas that we think, that we can kind of go through to have our contingencies for them. So we each know what we're going to do beforehand. On that stage, I thought there was going to be a lot of trap targets. So they said, oh, the coyote on the blue stick is like, oh, there's going to be like 3 coyotes out there, and there's going to be a blue coyote, but it's going to be on a white stick. And then you're going to have to shoot a non-painted coyote on a blue stick, will be your target, but you can only see part of it, or, something like that. And when we were overly prepared for contingencies to the point that I think it caused us to not engage just the very simple targets straight in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
We're overly prepared on that one as well, because you basically had to shoot over boxes or some kind of containers. So the easy answer, for somebody that doesn't do a lot or doesn't bring a lot of equipment, is like, oh, I'll just put my gun on top of the case. And then, both of us like, oh, it's a trap. Put your gun on the case, you won't be able to see anything. Or you'll see like just like little tails of things or something. Like clearly standing tripod is the way to go. And like we'll see over these cases, and clearly we'll see all the dilemmas. And at the end of the day, it was a very just simple stage where your targets were more or less right in front of you. And afterwards, it was my least favorite, not because of the stage itself, but because our thinking kind of restricted ourselves from just shooting more freely, which would have gotten us a higher hit percentage or higher points on that stage. I think my favorite, just for the stage itself or the shooting part of it, was the marathon stage. Same thing that Zach said. It's always that it's so rare on matches that you get to shoot them, and marathon targets are so unique in the fact that they can go in all sorts of different angles, and they can set all sorts of programs for them too to do certain things, and very unique. So we got to shoot pistol at one, which was really cool. And then they have their own little pathways and stuff. So it's a very different style of shooting that you have to do as a result, in a whole different ball game. If you have some wind coming this way, but your target's going this way, or it's going with the wind, and it's at 500 meters now, you could spend a significant amount of time thinking about things, or you could just try to like have a good stable position, send it off of a guess, see where if you missed before or after it, and keep on sending it. And I think for some shooters that come from certain communities, it's there's a very high reluctance just to send around to see where it goes.
Not me. I'm sending it.
And so it's
The bullet
unique.
never lies.
Yeah, we didn't dial for for that one either. So it's like, oh, we're just gonna hold everything and just kind of see where it goes within our tree reticles that we have and our scopes. And so that was unique. I think my favorite stage as far as prop goes was the boat stage. They had like a John boat that you had to shoot from. And again, I don't think the targets were a trap. So you could shoot like from basically just resting your rifle on the edge of the boat. From what I heard other people say how they executed it. And it's just unique. I think last year they had a razor or some vehicle that you had to shoot out of is like really cramped. So this year is the boat. I think those things always make it fun. It's like, oh, you could do really well here if you maybe get in the right position, or you could just kind of really burger it up if you get in the wrong position and don't see anything. So,
yeah, I think it might have been, Greg, the stage you were ROing 2 years ago with all these targets that were it was on the range 4, the KD range, and they're all just stacked up. Very difficult to discern, like, as targets are next to each other, especially after being shot and now slightly camouflaged, to determine what is what. And I remember I went up to an RO, I don't know if it was you, and they're like, hey, take a look through my optic. And you get up 5 feet off the ground, and there's all the targets. You can see every single one of them. They're all distinct from each other. And I think both Luke and I were like, maybe we should always shoot standing tripod every time. And so I think that's why we went into the first stage we shot, the Coyote Ipsig color stage. It was like, tripod, must do tripod. It's a trap. The boat's a trap. You can't shoot at that level. You won't be able to see the targets. And so maybe we would have got some more hits if we would have taken a simple approach, but I don't know. I saw all the targets, so I'm happy.
That is great. And I bet money that it was Eric Lumberg that said he's the kind of guy that would do, you want your mind blown now, just look here. That's totally something.
Glasses and ball cap.
Yep.
It's a little like kind of a thin beard, maybe.
Yep.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. That was him.
Yep, that was him.
Yeah, so needless to say, we shot standing tripod from the John boat. We made it work. We spent like 30 seconds getting our tripods like set up.
But it was so true on that stage. You could either stand up and shoot tripod, or even just stand up and spot and help your guy on the ground, or you'd have to move left to right throughout the stage. And there were so many people that they're like, there was one target in particular that you couldn't see from about 2/3 of the stage. And everyone was sitting there, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And, then someone would stand up or move and be like, oh, there it is. And the best part is when one partner could see it and the other partner couldn't, they're like, we're going to go to the opposite cones here. And, you have the good teams that realize like my partner does not see the same thing as I do. Hey, come sit next to me, or you might not be able to see it. And then the other ones, they're, you dummy, it's right there. It's right past this. Are you blind? Dude, you're
The
12
big
feet apart.
tree.
So Rob commented, he said, with the overthinking, he said, we call that the Scott Whitehead syndrome.
Mm. Mm.
That is too funny. There was something else I was going to say before we went to our midpoint, but I don't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come to me. Anyway, we're about at the midpoint of the show. Remember, if you're watching us live on Facebook, ask any questions you may have in the comment section of the video. We'll ask it live on air. Other ways to catch us, you can always check back on the Shooter's Mindset Facebook page. The videos stay up there forever. And we usually upload to all the podcast apps the night after the show. And then finally, everything eventually ends up on the Shooter's Mindset YouTube page. So that's a great place to look up past episodes. So anyway, I need y'all's help real quick. We
He
almost
doesn't need your
had
help.
Corey convinced to sign up for Mammoth 2 when Chris was on announcing that. He shoots like 2 matches minimum every weekend. Literally yesterday, he's walking around with a 45-pound backpack in the snow for fun. Like, this is what Corey needs, but he's still too chicken to shoot. So you guys help me convince him to come shoot Mammoth.
Hmm.
What's holding you back?
Time.
That's a hard one to argue against.
Yep. It's a rough one.
Like, time for matches, but like those matches aren't Mammoth.
So I'm hosting between 4 and 5 matches a month. And I have 3 jobs.
But you have interns.
The intern is a negative, dude. That's more work.
I was about to say that's
Jen, help me out on the interns one.
yeah. It's more work. When you could do something faster than explain to someone else how to do it.
Yeah. How about we do this? How about we sell the listener on Mammoth?
Yeah, that might be an easier sell than getting you going on it. I think Mammoth is unique in the competition sphere in that, as we've talked about, it's like very physically demanding. Lots of teams, like more than a third of the teams that, like, even this last one dropped for one reason or another. A lot of those being physical, just rucking. And there's something, I don't know what it is in the human brain, at least for me. Some of my best friends I've made over the years are those that I've done really hard things with. And Mammoth is pretty difficult, and the camaraderie you build, not just with your partner, but also with like just the other people in your squad that you meet. Like, you get on the other end of it and you have like a bond that's different than just like some dude you squatted with at a PRS match for the weekend. Spending 3 days, the downtime, the conversations with others, it's just a real special experience, I think. And there's not a lot of other places you can get something like that other than shooting kind of these style of matches. So that's something I enjoy about it. And I don't know, I think someone's just got to do it and give it a go. And you look back on it, you're like, man, I should have started this years ago. But yeah, the camaraderie of it, I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really think it's cool to have something to train for as well. So it gives you like a point on the wall for either physical fitness or for, some level of, human performance that is at an increased level. And you don't necessarily get that with other matches. And the Mammoth is definitely unique with that regard. That's what I definitely appreciate about it. And I think it's something that I look forward to, time available and God willing able to go back to each year.
It's like I've done half marathons before and people are like, why would you do that? That is so dumb. I'm like, But it's not something that everyone has done. Like just to complete it is a feat, and that you train for it and you have that goal. And I think Mammoth is kind of the same way. You
Mm.
know, anybody can go out and do PRS matches or whatever, but just to complete Mammoth is a feat,
Mhm.
I think. And then, obviously to win it is it's just something that gains a lot of respect.
Mm. Mm.
So let's talk gear. Obviously, we know the jet boil is a big one, but what's something that a whole bunch of teams brought that you saw that you didn't bring?
Hmm.
Our
Pistols
rucksack
with iron
weighed,
sights. Oh, go ahead.
our rucksacks weighed quite a bit.
Yeah.
We were in it to win it this year, and I didn't talk the training piece earlier. I did a whole bunch of PRS matches this year. Didn't do well
Okay.
at some of them at all. Did all right in others. I did. There's a team match at Coleman's Creek. That's like pretty popular, so I did that earlier on this year
Okay.
as well. And I think that was all like in preparation for it. But as far as like gear that we kind of brought it all. We both brought really right stuff tripods. We both had
Mhm.
laser rangefinder binos. We both had really nice pistols. So I had a staccato. Well, actually, no, he shot his Glock, but it was shooting really well. But
You say a Glock is
Surprisingly.
not a good gun? Wait a minute.
well, last year the pistol targets were 1-for-1 Virginia count, every single one of them, and they were
That's
pretty
silly.
far
That's
away,
just
far
silly.
away.
I think it's great. I like it.
So we actually were shooting like match grade from Atlanta Arms, like match grade 9mm ammo that we printed out on paper, and we're like, okay, like this is, even as we're training at Coleman's Creek, we're kind of like, determining if his aluminum cased Blazer ammo was as accurate as he thought, which it wasn't.
No, absolutely not.
Compared to the compared to the
Shocker.
compared to the stuff. But we brought probably everything else that everybody brought, and then some, I would say.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like the first year I shot Mammoth, I brought a pump pillow, like an Armageddon gear pump pillow, in addition to other stuff. And this year it's like, we don't need to bring that. We'll just use our sleeping bag. It's already in a stuff sack. We could kind of, I would say we brought everything, but we brought only what we needed. We didn't bring like, I don't know, a plate for our tripod to put a bag on top, because we're like, well, I'm just gonna I'm gonna clip my gun in. It's got an arc rail. So we didn't do a lot of extra, but we brought everything we needed to be successful, I think. And I think a lot of that was influenced by previous, given that Chris Andrews is like a flavor as he makes matches. You can kind of like game it in your
Mhm.
mind as to, should I bring a spotting scope? Nah, too much weight, But as far as something, I saw a lot of shooters with iron sight pistols. And based on our
Yeah.
experience the previous year, we're like, got to have optics, got to make every single shot count. So I had an RMR
Right.
that I had on my Glock for years, whereas the previous year I shot a Shadow 2 with irons. I'm like, I could take that extra little bit with the RMR and also be probably like 10 pounds lighter because a Shadow 2 is a boat anchor. But,
52 ounces. Let's go.
oh man, with a fully loaded mag, that gun's like almost what, 3 or 4 pounds?
Yeah.
Jeez. Anyway, shoots like a typewriter though, but so yeah, I think, yeah.
Equipment wise, this year I thought I saw, primarily due to Vortex's Impact 4000, way more
Oh yeah.
laser rangefinders.
Okay.
And I will say that I am very impressed with the Impact, especially at the price point that it's at.
Mm.
But I also say that while the equipment is amazing from what I've seen, it's another piece of equipment that you have to know how to use.
Mm.
And I don't mean, like, there's definitely several targets that were very, like, weapon mounted laser rangefinder is like that all day every day. It's like an oval on a berm, not a lot of time. If you had like your Impact readily available right there. Bam, you got your dope, you got 10 seconds left. Maybe you get that extra hit or two that you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
That's for like key for success. But most of the targets, again, Chris Andrews' style is, they're behind a berm someplace, and there's only so much of them exposed for you basically to determine what it is. And there's, no laser rangefinder really out there that's going to give you the precise range to like the little piece of metal that's like showing. It's going to give you like the grass before, or the terrain behind it.
Gotcha.
So I think as we see more equipment like that coming along, it's also going to require, it's a different tool to use to know that how, like, the feedback that it gives you. Again, with the impact, it has the ability to scan. So if you have that thing in scan mode, and it's like, okay, well, I have this like series of
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pick this one, look at my dope card, and I'm gonna send it. I think things like that make it more interesting, but I definitely don't think it would have helped most people in most situations during this match, where if you just like press the button and trust the hold and send it, well, the equipment's fine. This is where you pointed it was, a trap of like a bush in front of it or something, to kind of trip you up with it. So,
yeah. And in all of my years of ROing Mammoth, I've seen so many people get bit with, and previous years, there was nothing under $6,000-8,000 as far as weapon mounted rangefinders went. And
Yeah.
people would be out there with their, $9,000 whatever brand it may be. And, I just watched somebody pull out this old school thing that looks like it came out of their dad's Boy Scout backpack. And, they get the range right. And then these guys get down and they're, oh yeah, it's 1150. I'm like, target's 825.
yeah.
That happened to me at my first Mammoth. So Brian Litz had one of the original Wilcox Raptors that was sent out, and the AB was put into it. And he let me use that for that match. And he just kind of had it in a drawer as like one of many pieces of kit that's just like, yeah, sure, give it a go. And not knowing any better, that thing has temperature variance, like will basically expand or contract the little bridge that the lasers are on. So you can just watch as that thing heats up and cools down, your laser moves, and or it gets bumped and shifts. And I thought it was just like zero and it's good. And I think on one of the stages, it was that exact problem. Like I have a target exposed. Oh man, that's like 800 yards, but it really was 6 because the Raptor was picking up the tree bank behind it and just completely sailed it over that target. So there's like, with every new piece of equipment, it's understanding its limitations and like the use case for it, and like when it really shines and when it doesn't.
Yeah, I think again, going back to equipment like that with range-finding binos. So for instance, like the Furies, having it in the scan mode and just like scanning all around a target, that's like a little bit difficult. And then you don't trust the equipment to give you the range. You just determine what you thought the end result of all of your searching is. If something clearly, like, out on a field where you can like see the base of the target, I can trust more or less like one or two like presses of a button, and that's going to be accurate. But most of the targets that Chris and Scott Patterson put up were definitely like, again, 14 points out of, I forgot how many points that were available, but like shooting like from a truck these targets on like a KD range, and they're big targets, and it's like, wow, it's like it's its own problem. Like introducing new equipment introduces a new problem for you to have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And, ways that you can take advantage of the feedback that it does give you, because the equipment is like really, really good that's out there. But the dilemma is that you have to work through now, or the team aspect of that, I think, is a unique part that this match brings with it as well.
And it's in preparation for this, speaking of equipment, there's a lot of little things that I don't think a lot of people realize with like LRFs, for example. Like in your HUD, there is a reticle, but that doesn't mean the laser is actually at the center of that reticle, so you go and do things like find a power line and you scan up and down at that power line because it's very thin, right? And then you just, especially on a tripod, you just eke that thing up and down until you get a range, and then you come down. Then you flip your binos 90 degrees and you do it the other way, and you find exactly where that laser is zeroed in that that pair of binoculars. So now you can use some in the scan mode some amount of logic, like, okay, I'm scanning. Oh, you know where that laser goes, and you just got a blip of like 500, 800, 625, 500, 800, 500, 800, 625. And because you can be a little smarter with where you point that, where you direct that laser energy, you can actually like get those targets that are difficult sometimes, not always. But that extra little bit, that's like that last little 10% that allows someone, I think, to be like really successful with their equipment, is the not just trusting it completely and blindly, really kind of figuring it out.
With range finding binos, do you guys have a particular way that you use them? Because you'll see, obviously you have your sailors that'll just stand up like this, and you got the guys that only use them prone. Is there, what's y'all's favorite way that you find the most stable to use for range?
Standing tripod.
Yep, absolutely.
So if I had to shoot, if I was forced to shoot from the prone, but I could find and range all my targets whatever way I could, I would always put it into a standing tripod, because the higher you are, like now you're directing the laser energy, like at more of an angle, and you're potentially seeing the base of the target, and so your likelihood that you're getting an accurate range and you're seeing over the brush or over a bush is now increased. And so it might be harder to then, transfer like your visual image of the range or your targets, like once you get back down into the prone, let's say you're fourth to that. But I'd always go standing tripod, and they're clipped in. And the very next best thing is a bag, I think, on top of the plate. And I think that it's definitely, given the situation and how fast you have to shoot, all this kind of stuff, I think a bag and a plate of some sort could be the answer. But for this match, since we're oftentimes just like started with the binos already clipped into the tripod, just because we knew that's how it was, it's like, well, I'm just gonna run up there like this. And I think there's a truck there during the truck stage. I remember seeing Zach. We had talked about it so much in all of our prep to get high no matter what, that the tarp was like folded down, so you had to shoot from like the seated bench. And I'm like pretty much like in my position, getting there, and been working on it for 15 seconds, and he's still trying to like lift up the tarp somehow or another in order to like to increase the ability to get higher, and then eventually gives up on that, and to get back like, okay, clearly I'm not allowed to manipulate this, we're just gonna work with what we've got. But that's how much of an advantage that we thought as a team, that getting higher with just our binos, not even our rifles, just our binos, how much of an advantage we thought that was going to bring us.
Yeah, we both have Vortex Furies with AB in them, and we mostly just use them for rangefinders. Kind of AB is a little backup, especially in the binoculars. But we have little really right stuff like Arca clamps on them, and there's just enough play with those that when they're in a tripod locked in, you can just kind of sit there, get it on a target, and especially ranging it, you have just enough to like scan up and down to get a good range with them. So yeah, we'd start a stage with our binos in a tripod ready to go. And we'd also like really segment our time well with them. So in knowing that it's like a find, range, engage kind of match, we're like, well, we got to find them first. So how do we want to break up this 5 or 6 minutes to do that well? And we just kind of would make a judgment call based on what we thought for the stage for the time that we would spend with those binos. But yeah, that's kind of that was a big deal.
Yeah, and that's the way that I see a lot of the teams that shoot well do it. Instead of, oh, I must be in this position this whole time, realize like you can just stand there and chill and look for the targets. Not exactly chill, but getting up, everything you said, it does seem that a lot of the teams with single digit finishes, that's the way they shot. I do have a live from Chris Andrews. He said we didn't cover this at awards, but will you two be taking your free team slot to defend your Mammoth title in 2025?
Oh, well, Luke.
I would definitely desire to. If available due to work considerations, I would 110% sign up for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd be back. Especially if Luke's there. Take that a big, I want to sit there and refresh. I'm like, okay, can we get in? Can we get in? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it was this year. We're definitely. I think it was me that was doing the refresh. I forgot. I think Zach was busy. But
Yeah.
yes, Chris, that we would definitely come back. We love the
Oh, yeah.
match. Y'all put a ton of time, or they put a ton of time into it.
Mm.
I really this year it showed he really thinks about the fairness of it because you're split up. Like one group goes this way, the other group goes this way. So like weather decisions and stuff, each group had to ruck the same amount. We shot the same stages. And I saw last year, it's like by meters or tens of meters, teams don't make it for the ruck times.
Mhm.
So there's exacting standards and ways of doing things that I think are pretty consistent that make the match enjoyable.
Yeah.
For all the right reasons.
Mm.
So I've got some lightning round questions. What rifle did y'all use?
I shot it's a Archimedes, American Rifle Company Archimedes, 25
Mhm.
Creedmoor, 26-inch barrel with a Night Force and a MDT chassis that I pulled off the price table in 2023. So,
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think I saw MDT shouted you guys out this morning.
oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
You run suppressed?
We both run brakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was shooting a Lone Peak and an MDT ACC Premier chassis with
Okay.
a 26-inch proof competition barrel that I think weighs 7.5 pounds.
I was gonna say the competition didn't register until you said wait, and I'm like, damn, you're bigger than I thought.
Yes. Now I will say this much: it was a joy to shoot.
Oh yeah.
Full stop. Period. After that,
Yeah.
I had to carry it the entire time. So that much, not so much. But and I said before, he had a Glock 19 with an RMR, then had a Staccato P with
Okay.
a DP Pro on it.
What scopes do y'all use on your rifles?
I have a Night Force 5-25 with a
Okay.
trimmer 3.
And had a Night Force 7x35 with a trimmer 3.
Okay. Big one. What packs do you guys run?
I have a Kufaru something. I think it's a 44 mag bag, but the frame I think is one of their tactical frames. So
It's a nice
it's the
bag.
best pack I've ever owned. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Some great ones out there, but it's good.
I cram everything into an Eberly stock gunslinger.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
Zach's laughing because my Subway sandwich was within the elastic bands on the outside for all to see. Which
We
made
got a
some
lot of
laughs.
comments about that.
Hey, man,
And if
it
you would
works, it works.
if you would have gone in front of everyone else, it would have been like, the person running in front of the dog with the meat
Yes.
hanging from the.
But yeah, I love that pack. It's very light. However, Zach was a little bit more flexible, but I was able to cram a significant amount of stuff within that.
It's like a Mary
Okay.
Poppins bag, I'm impressed truly, but
I made the heavy rifle not as heavy on my back at least.
Yeah. And then what about sleeping gear?
I have a Climate. They're a brand from here in Utah, just down the street from me. A 20-degree down bag, and then I have one of their Recon 5 sleep mats, one of their little Lux pillows, and then we used Luke's Marmot tent, like an ultralight backpacking tent.
Sharing the warmth.
Yep, it's worth it. Make
Yep.
meals together, do everything inside, out of the rain, which it did, and I was thankful for being. So,
Yeah, so I went out and this Christmas for a family member gave us a whole bunch of gift certificates. So with that, I went out and got an inflatable sleeping mattress that was very nice because I was very jealous of Zach's Climate inflatable mattress last year as I was sleeping on just like a foam one, and he looked like he was 3 inches off the ground and with his pillow just like fell asleep instantly. And very cool. So that was actually the one biggest gear change I think that as far as like preparation goes, I will bring a very nice lightweight inflatable mattress, which I did. I think it was like a Sea to Summit one, but anyway. But then yeah, just the sleeping bag, a Marmot sleeping bag I've had since college. In addition to that,
The
Nice,
little
nice.
inflatable mattress makes a difference.
It's
Mm.
very
Oh God, yes,
Mm.
absolutely.
Yeah, good sleep and good recovery. You cannot understate it, especially at a match like Mammoth 3 are so physical. It's just,
Yeah.
it is essential.
you can
And
tell
being the first one asleep when your hunting partner is just staring at you, wondering how you're asleep, it really just like reinforces that you have the clean conscience.
Or you just don't have ADHD and you're just replaying things in your mind throughout the entire day. And I think where you could have gained ground up, or I don't know.
That's funny. So y'all started out, I mean, Mammoth is the first week of January. So y'all kind of started out 2024 with a bang. So what other goals do you have for this year for yourself? Are you going to shoot other matches? You going to do Mammoth 2?
I'd say the first goal for me right now, after being gone for this part, is spending time with my family. I'm
Smart
pretty
man.
involved with my church, so there's a lot of focus that needs to go there. So there's a lot of balance with things within life in order to ensure that I'm not like, shooting competitions don't become like an idol for me that I'm just like constantly chasing, because it can be hard, and also trying to be a good father at the same time. When things are like set and I have the ability to, have some free time and that I'm able to do things, matches like the Mammoth are my favorite ones to do. It is easier for me to do like a PRS match like on a Saturday, like that's more local. I'm very blessed to be within this part of North Carolina. Coleman's Creek, a phenomenal long range shooting range, is like 45 minutes from my house. Not everybody has access to that. So if I need to go do something that's related to this style of shooting, it's literally right there. And the shooting community in North Carolina is just phenomenal as well. So
It's a really nice range up there.
it is. Yes, it is. And yeah, so I'm able to do like a PRS. I think my number one feedback for me as a shooter is I'm not necessarily a PRS person, or it's not something that I pursue all the time, but being better at PRS makes you phenomenally better when in a time constrained environment in a match like the Mammoth, when your partner's counting on you to hit that really small target that you do know the range to. It's like, hey man, like this is it. Like you in those 10 seconds in the scope, it's all the preparation that you've done leading up to that. There's lots of things you can do to get to that point, but I think being PRS is a great way to train for it. I really think Zach and I talked about it, but NRL Hunter style matches. So we've entertained potentially me going out west. I know there was one in Alabama coming up at Still City that we're looking at. I think that one's sold out, but I think NRL Hunter would, as a team, would be the kind of like the next thing that we could do together in the interim for shooting together. What about you, Zach?
I think the only thing I've got planned for shooting, and I'm shooting the tactical games here in Utah in September.
Oh, nice.
A little bit different flavor, but I've got a couple of guys from the gym, friends of mine, a guy from church that we're all getting together and going to train for together. And I'm kind of like
Yeah.
getting their competitive streak going. So I'm kind of prepping for that. And kind of like with anything with going into Mammoth, figuring out how to game it, how do I maximize points? Do I shoot match ammo? Do I go out and buy staccato? Do I the answer is yes to that. But
Nice.
so there's that's kind of it. But I mean, really my goal this year is just to learn how to be a good husband and love my wife. Her and I are really involved in church, so we're, focusing on that and just kind of filling in the gaps with, a weekend here or there, helping my wife with her business when I'm not working full time. So I mean, shooting is like, something I love, but I don't want it to become like my identity as a person. I find my identity elsewhere, but it's like, it's good. It's fun. It's something I'm good at and I enjoy. So, just little things, probably some USPSA matches here and there. Maybe some NRL Hunter. I know there's a couple matches out west here in Wyoming, Idaho, and Utah. So maybe we'll find something before the next Mammoth.
That's awesome. I like the family life balance. I think it's difficult to do. I kind of stepped back from shooting after I got married just to, spend some time, and get to know each other a little bit better. And so it's good. But now I have a 22 and we're going to start shooting some NRL 22 together. So it's going to be a family.
fun.
It's
That's
going to
awesome.
be fun.
I did get my wife to shoot a PRS match with me this year, and it went better than expected.
I mean, you're still married. You did great.
We're still married.
Yes.
She said that I was
Good as
throwing,
you asked for.
and I said yes. But yeah, with the goal, so we do a lot of like triathlons and Spartan races. And our kids do the Spartan race and all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to, get her into a team match eventually at some point in time in the future. So that'll be interesting development at some point in time. But
Yeah.
it's fun. Like the community part is really like what draws me to it. It's great people. Like I never sit around like, when you don't perform well, I never sit around and be like, man, I just wish I wasn't here, or this is, a silly thing to sign up for, just because everybody around you is probably generally thinking the same thing because they did just as horribly as you. But if not, like they're giving you pointers on how to do better, or they're, telling you about, that they're in the same situation 5 or 6 years ago, and these techniques or this method like help them out. So I think we all start from a position of great learning, and eventually get to a spot where there's some mastery there. And the shooting community is filled with so many good people that help people along the way. So it's just a phenomenal thing to be around.
I agree with you. Do we have any more lives?
I think we're mostly set.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Well, I think we can wind it down to shout outs. We always kind of do a shout outs at the end of the show. So we will start with Greg.
All right. So I wanted to shout out definitely Hunter's HD Gold, greatest glasses ever for shooting. We can shout out GSL suppressors because I got my big pew quieter on the end of my new rifle over here, and it's quite fun.
Nice.
And you can't
Quiet fun.
the new race up top there also. Shout out to Vortex for that.
Hey.
All right, Corey, what you got?
Yeah, Thunder Beast Arms for letting me pre-order the Magnus K Race Ready. Texas Precision for hosting precision rifle matches. 22's this Sunday, Jen. WeBet for solid bags and gear. JP Rifles for amazing rifles. Federal for the advance on the 7mm 170 grain terminal ascent that just came out. Vortex for the Gen 3 Razor. Hunter's HD for the Bitchin' Shades. And Ben Stigger Pro Shop.
I'll just start walking now and I'll maybe make it to Texas by like June.
Back warm. It's been rough.
Yeah. All right. How about we'll go Luke? What you got?
Just all the sponsors for the Mammoth. The price table is awesome, but at the same time, I know it takes a lot of hard work to put such a competition on from Chris Andrews every year. So big shout out to him for making it possible, and for keep rowing every year to make it happen, and also expanding it as well. Definitely look forward to potentially going out west at some point in time to see what it's like at Mammoth too. Maybe not this year, but at some year in the future. So that's exciting.
All right. And Zach?
Yeah, same thing as Luke, just all the sponsors, everyone, Proof, MDT, Night Force, like that whole crew, everyone, Grunt Style, Eisenhower, the base itself, and then, Chris putting it all on. It's awesome to have it all come together, and to have the community support a match like that, just for them to even just to give stuff to the match, their product that they, are well and truly entitled to make money on, but they give it away at something like this, which is really cool. And then a shout out to my wife, Audrey, because she lets me go and do these things and supports me in it. And I really appreciate that. So, yeah, super awesome.
Well, since he said it, I have to say to my wife, Ashley, then.
Yeah. Got it in, brother.
So we know who got brownie points tonight and who didn't. Well, I'll tell you one funny thing talking about Fort Eisenhower here, because I'm local here and on Facebook. So Fort Eisenhower, I believe, was doing some other military things with some big sonic booms. Okay. And the news put up a news story that said, if you heard a lot of loud booms, it's because the world's best snipers were competing in a match on Fort Eisenhower this weekend. And it's like a picture. It might have been of them. Who was it? Was it the Winners?
I don't remember who it was, but yeah, no, that
And
definitely.
it was so funny. Everybody's comments on that article on Facebook was like, I can't believe they would host a sniper match that's going to be this loud and not tell the community. And I'm like, there's no way y'all heard
Uh,
Mammoth.
that's the sound of EOD having fun with C4.
Yep.
Yeah. It
So-
was much bigger booms than any center
And-
fire.
Also, Fort Eisenhower did put out alerts, but the news just didn't share the alerts. So, yeah.
Yeah. It was just, I laughed. It was so funny that, people were like, I can't believe they would do something with this loud booms and have these guns there and not tell the community. Yeah.
There was a lot of over dramatic people too. Like we were right there by it, and like yes, you could hear the booms, but there were people that were 30 miles away that were like, it was knocking stuff off of my shelves. I'm like, no, that was your mom that fell down the stairs.
Don't think that was the case, but it was funny. All right. Well, for my shout outs, I just want to shout out both of y'all for for putting in the time and the hard work to compete in Mammoth. I know what a time commitment that is. It's, other matches you can get ready for in, a month tops, and Mammoth, you got to start really early. So I know what a strain that is on time and families to an extent. Like I said, my husband has begged me to never do Mammoth again because he was like, please don't do that. He just worried about me out there rucking so much. But so shout out for that, and shout out for spending your Tuesday night with us to talk about it so people can hear kind of how it came to be that y'all were the champions of that difficult match. So people like to hear kind of the strategies and how y'all did. So I look forward to seeing y'all compete in some other competitions. I always think it's funny with Mammoth. There's some people that just kind of go shoot with whoever that year, whoever, I'll just whatever. And then there's some that, maybe have shot with a couple other people and then they find each other and it's like they're a really good team and they just, like Sean and Greg, they go and shoot and try and win every title out there that's of that genre of shooting. Yeah. Yeah. Luke's like, yep, that's where we're gonna head.
Best we can.
So I really look forward to seeing what y'all have in store and what y'all are going to be able to do. So,
Well, thanks for having us on, Jen. We really appreciate it.
we enjoyed it. All right. And with that, it'll be a wrap for episode 429. We will not have an episode next week unless Corey just wants to talk to himself, because we will be at SHOT Show. So it'll be a big time difference and we'll be busy. I think we have dinner. Let's see. Yeah, we have a dinner Tuesday night, so we'll be busy for sure. But we'll be
Look
back
at you.
after that. It's a business dinner.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
It's a write-off. That's a write-off.
Hashtag it's a write-off.
We'll have to take a picture at dinner and put that. All right. Well, with that, it's a wrap, and we'll see y'all next time.